Here I am on the campus trails with my beautiful Podzol. Typically when you're doing a soil profile, you would be cutting at least 1 meter wide and at least 1 meter deep, unless you hit bedrock. And when we dig proper soil pits on Monday the 19th, I will film some of those soil pits for everyone. But in the meantime, if you're all by yourself and you're trying to figure out how to do this without having property that you're allowed to dig up, here is a very small, limited profile that still does the trick. So I found a natural eroded hillside, so I don't feel so bad about cutting. I only cut a small sliver into it, and this hole that I dug, the sand is just here out of shot, and I can refill that part if need be, and minimal damage to the soil profile. In order to make it easier for me to draw this out and make a proper soil profile report, I've added a ruler to the soil profile. You start zero, technically should start where the LFH layer meets the mineral layer. I've gone all the way to the top because I was having trouble with my measuring tape a moment ago. We'll see if it'll work for me. And then I've used pencils to mark out where my different horizons are based on mostly color and a little bit texture. So I've got my LFH layer on the top, and then an AH layer is that dark mineral. So that's not a color difference, that's a texture difference, because I can feel the sand in the AH layer. And then I've got my AE layer, that's a color and texture difference, because it's been alluviated, leached of all the nutrients, which have then gone down into my B layer. And if I had another pencil, I might have a BHF layer where there's darker sand is, and then have just a BF layer where the more orangey sand is. Because this layer is so dark, it probably has some humus in it as well as some oxidized iron. And then right at the bottom, my last pencil there is showing where my C layer is starting, where I've got this glade white sand that's quite wet and probably is below the water table, and hence why it's so white. So you should, if you're doing this, take a picture in situ and then take some samples. So I've cut a sample of my white and I can get a couple handfuls of it. I would want, realistically, when we do this in lab, we take like half a liter of soil. Depending on your situation, you may or may not be able to take that much. But like, I would try and fill a 2-cup or 3-cup yogurt container or margarine container, or I don't know what food you eat. But that kind of container, or a Ziploc bag, you could fill a large Ziploc bag with soil from each horizon. And this will be easy with your C horizon, this will be easy with your BF. It might be a little harder with your BHF. It's going to be a little bit harder with your AE layer to get a good sample. Get as much as you can, say with your AH. But try to get samples from each horizon so you can bring them back to somewhere where you have a book and you can start looking through and identifying. Over the next few weeks, we're going to be trying to ID the texture of some of these soils and the proper color of some of these soils and the different structural things that exist. Write down about the habitat. We're going to measure the slope of our habitat on campus when we do our soil profile pit. And realistically, you should in your own profile as well, because that makes a difference about how the pedogenic processes that work on your soils. This is a quick, simple soil profile to get you started. No giant 1 meter by 1 meter soil pit required.